Hey, y'all, and welcome to this week's dispatch from Spill the Spirituality as Lent begins. That's L-E-N-T, a season in the Christian tradition. And the word Lent comes from an old English word called Lenten, which means basically a refreshing of the soul, a springing of the soul. And Lent is a time when Christians really pay attention to what in our bodies, souls, hearts, minds is holding us down, locking us down, holding us from being fully alive to ourselves and to God, and maybe a time when we try to do a little reflection on what we want to try to let go of for 40 days. It's 40 days before Easter, so we're preparing for this magnificent resurrection. So it's a little bit like spiritual, it's just sort of spiritual spring cleaning.
Detox.
And
it's not just Christians. Everybody can get in on the action because every year when it rolls around, people are like, oh, what are you going to give up? And it's always the same chocolate, Instagram, alcohol, whatever. It's the same list of things every time.
That's right. Tick one. Feel holy, move on, And I just want to say, like, Lent is Christian in other traditions, religious traditions, for example, Ramadan for Muslims. I don't want to say it's the same thing, but it's sort of a time of fasting, a time of restriction, a time of abstinence.
But I wonder, what does it mean underneath? Like when we say we're giving something up, is there something in choosing between stopping doing something just for 40 days? Or having a life where that thing doesn't exist anymore and you're moving on without it. Like, for example, you've decided to abstain from alcohol. What does that mean? It's not just for a few days or a bit. The difference is saying that's the end of that part of my life. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I think it can be either or both. Some people might use Lent as a time to sort of try to give up something permanently, like
a practice.
They're saying like, alcohol is destructive in my life, so I'm going to give it up because I know I need to. Whereas some people may say, I'm going to give up alcohol or chocolate or judgmentalism or shopping, not because I think that chocolate or shopping is bad, but because I just want to be attentive to the relationship I have with that thing, which I don't think is bad. So it can be both and, We say in AA, I'm always saying we say in AA, because I love, as I say a lot too, I love the Church of Jesus. I love being in relationship with people of no religions and many religions, and I love AA. And that for me is the spiritual kind of garden that we live in the 21st century. And I love that. I love being a particularly Christian recovering drunk in that garden. But one of the things we say in AA is, if you want to figure out why you drink, stop drinking. If you want to figure out why you drink, stop drinking. If you want to figure out why you eat chocolate, stop eating chocolate. If you want to figure out why you shop, stop shopping. And there is that sense of like, I'm not going to shop. People are like, I'm not going to eat French fries for the entire 40 days. And they're like, oh, I love I'm so good. I'm a spiritual hero because I haven't had, fried potatoes with salt on them. But, anything will do. Any little act that you do a lot in your life, if you stop, you may experience the withdrawal of not having salt and fat in your system. But there's probably something deeper going on and pulling you in. So you stop drinking and you realize, well, why do I drink? Well, I guess there are a few people who are like, I really love the taste. And, maybe there are. But most people drink because it changes the way they feel, right? And that's not a bad thing necessarily. But, there's some spiritual questions there, right?
What are the questions? If we're sitting listening to this and thinking, well, I drink because I enjoy it. I enjoy being a bit more free, a bit more released. These all sound like positive things. If you give that up and then realize that you aren't able to be yourself without.
Exactly.
What questions should
this
that
is
bring
the
up?
whole thing. So like, props in life aren't necessarily bad, but I believe one of the goals of the spiritual life is to be able to live more freely, more nakedly, more vulnerably, with fewer and fewer props. And by props, I mean chemicals, practices, substances, processes that change the way I feel so as to make me something that I'm actually not. What would life look like if We were not relying on substances, processes, alcohol. And again, we talk about vice. So we talk about, I'm going to give up alcohol because it's alcohol. But like, what would it look like to give up pride for a month? Or judgmentalism, probably trickier than giving up alcohol because it's a process, right?
Yeah, it might be a way of life. I mean, so when Lent comes around, I'm not saying you're like super good at giving stuff up, but it is a huge journey to be addicted to something and then stop being addicted to it or move on from it. When it comes to Lent, you still give something up.
I will often have a kind of attentiveness in that season to something. It may be like giving something up. It may be taking on a different practice. So like for me, it might be saying I'm going to walk outside every day for an hour.
Okay, so starting something.
It could be starting something. It could be giving something up. Within Lent as a spiritual practice, the point is to draw you in that practice, not into the kind of heroism of like, I made it through Lent and I didn't have a goddamn French fry, 3 days, like I made it through Lent and I didn't have a sip of alcohol, except for those many sips of alcohol that I'd had that I didn't tell you about. Right. But it's not, the goal is not like a spiritual heroism.
Yeah.
The goal for me is, how can I make space in my crowded, cramped, propped up life? How can I make more space for God, for life, for spirit? I think this is where the issue is, because is one of the things of having a crowded life or having all these things that we do as habits that make us feel good, the short-term things, when they're not there, if you create space and give them up, things are going to rise to the surface. Exactly.
Are we consciously or unconsciously afraid of that? And what things have risen to the surface when you've been walking or when you've stopped being so judgmental?
One of the reasons we find it hard to abstain from things that we use as props is because they protect us from the stuff that's lying just underneath. And look, I think one of the goals of being a spiritually awake human is being able to contend with the stuff that's under the surface. I mean, I think that's one of the major goals of certainly for Christian spirituality, like to do that excavation, Sometimes I say that and like people think, oh my God, Trey wants me to go do psychoanalysis every week. I mean, maybe. I mean, I think it might be good for a lot of people.
Maybe you should.
But it's not about being like all of a sudden like paralyzed by analysis or like always scanning yourself for what's wrong with me, but just acknowledging that if you're a human being, which you are, unless you're unlike the other 8 million people in the world, you will have something underneath, and that's just and it could be something that was part of your like growing up and you learned this behavior. It could be something that happened to you and you have not talked about it ever.
Yeah.
It could be something that you did to somebody that caused pain or harm and you haven't talked about it ever. But if you're a human being, which you are, that stuff will eat away at us. And that eating away at us is a sign that it needs to be contended with, And part of the healing that comes with a good spiritual practice, I believe, is looking at that stuff. Now, I do think, so I feel like I'm preaching a little bit today.
No, I'm genuinely asking.
I do think when we get into Lent, and anytime there's abstinence or taking projects on like spiritual projects, there's this thin line between a practice of abstinence as an openness to letting God speak or letting God move into this space that you've created, and this kind of like building up this sense of like, I'm a really strong person who can tackle this challenge. Lent is not about the latter. It's not about you being stronger. I'll speak for myself. By the end of Lent, like, I am now someone who can resist alcohol. It's actually about, in the Christian tradition, you becoming more available, weaker, less dependent on your own strength. So it's a weird thing.
It's probably why it's not so popular as Iron Man, for example, which is about endurance. And it's like, let's push ourselves to the edge. It's like, let's actually release.
Yeah.
That's
you
not
can't,
as popular.
You can't do everything. Not everything is possible. You will not succeed at everything you try, contrary to what America tells you, or some of the best self-help people, And it's not that you shouldn't try, but like, guess what? You're a person with limits.
if you're looking for something, I like the thing of, if you want to know why you drink, stop drinking. And I was thinking, I have eaten, I've eaten a lot of chocolate in the past, and that's always been part of what I do. And I get to a point a day where I think I need chocolate now, and that's been less. What I realised was it was the same time every day, and it was often at this point where I'm a bit tired and I don't know what to do next. And we were talking before about life being structured. I have unstructured time because I don't put my kids to bed anymore, so I have this space and I don't really know what to do with myself. And that's when I lent in, and I'm like, oh, I think this might be something I do when I don't know what else to do, but I know it'll give me a quick fix. If I just took a second before then, I thought, what else would give me a bit of enjoyment or kick? So I started looking for other things that would do it. Is that the whole point of Lent? Finding something else to replace the thing that was making too much noise in your life?
That's one way into it. It's a lovely thing. And I guess I want to say there's no one right way to do Lent. It's like this kind of season of like, again, what are the practices that help you be attentive to what's going on? And so you've just described it's lovely. You've reflected on it like, okay, chocolate, nothing wrong with eating a square of chocolate, right? Nothing wrong in itself.
It wasn't a square, it was an entire.
It was an entire square. Well, that's a perfect example. So nothing wrong with eating a square of chocolate or a candy bar, right? Whatever. But you notice like, oh, it's interesting that craving for chocolate happens at the same time every night.
Yes.
When I'm feeling stressed. So do I need a dopamine hit? Whatever. And nothing wrong with a dopamine hit. But I guess what Lent is trying to invite us into is an experience of ourselves that's not needing always to have a fix, not always needing to be entertained or fascinated. So in some ways, yes, maybe a replacement for something that's not hitting the dopamine in the same way. So like if you're knitting or crocheting, or if you decide instead of the bar of chocolate or the huge vat of chocolate, I'm going to go on a walk. Or I'm going to choose to meditate for 5 minutes, or I'm going to talk to my husband or talk to my kid. That's a replacement. But it's not, the replacement shouldn't be a distraction from what's coming up. Yeah, just burying it with something more holy.
Do you know what it's felt like? It's felt like being, this is odd because I'm a grown-ass woman, but it's felt like being grown up. It's like, you know what, I'm going to choose to do something else. And I think that's been the thing before. I haven't taken that extra step between what do I naturally feel like I want to do? And chocolate's probably a rubbish example because there are so many bigger things that can draw you along. But for me, it was just like, where are the things that I feel like I'm on automatic instead of being intentional?
Indeed.
That was one of them.
And in one level, I think I totally agree with you about the chocolate thing being a small thing. I heard someone once say about the Muslims who like basically fast from sunrise to sundown. Yeah. And sometimes Ramadan's like in the summertime.
It's a long.
And they're fasting for 8 hours. And Christians are like, I haven't had any chocolate today. My Muslim colleagues are like, I haven't eaten since 3:30 a.m. So like, but in some ways, chocolate will do just fine as a teacher, because it's not saying that you're stopping eating chocolate or stopping drinking alcohol is going to fix the war in Ukraine, but you're being attentive to you and your own personal spiritual journey. And so I think this is a thing that one might discover in Lent or any time of kind of spiritual cleaning, spiritual refreshment. It's like, so one of the things I learned about myself when I was drinking and trying to stop drinking many times was that for whatever reason, alcohol for me is not something I can enjoy in moderation.
All right.
Right? I tried many times, so you have to believe me, you have to trust me. I cannot just have a glass of wine. Now, I haven't had a glass of wine in 17 years, really. Well done. But like, if probably even 17 years later, if I put a glass of wine in my system, chemically, physiologically, and psychologically, something gets clicked in me where I want another glass of wine, and then another glass of wine. And even if I don't drink that other glass of wine and I have just one glass of wine or a half glass of wine, my brain will be thinking about that glass of wine that I'm not going to have. So I can restrain, maybe I can restrain from not having the second glass, but I'm thinking about it, And that was my life for a long time till I got sober.
Yeah.
So the chocolate thing's a great example. If you are someone who like eats a square of chocolate and was like, oh, that felt really lovely. And you can taste the chocolate in your tongue, and you can feel like your veins dilate a little bit. And you're like, oh, that's lovely. Dopamine, tiny little dopamine hit. And then you go back to your work or go back to talking to your husband or your kids or your partner or friend. You probably don't have a problem with chocolate. But if you, like me with sugar, if you had a bar of chocolate and you think, there's another chocolate bar in that cupboard. There's another packet of buttons. Those buttons, you know what I'm talking about? Those chocolate buttons.
With the caramel in, or just the plain ones?
Either both.
Just
both. Yeah. So that's the thing. It's like Lent is about not just stopping the activity, but paying attention to what happens when we stop.
Can I ask you one question before we stop?
Whatever you want.
When you were describing that of the trying to give up and knowing if you have one glass of wine, then you're going to want another one.
Yeah.
And like it's 17 years now. Is that frightening? Is that scary now? Because there's between your walk to here and the tube station, there's loads of bars. Is it frightening that you could fall into having one glass of wine? How do you navigate that?
So we're talking about temptation.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's temptation. I mean that the impulse. I get the fact that if that happened, then you'd be in that pattern again after all this work.
Well, that's why if that happened. I don't want that to happen.
No.
If that happened, God would be gracious, and I would hopefully get out of it. But there are people who fall back in and die. You know, and it's not just alcohol. But so I think that's a great question, because it's sort of Lent is about paying attention to those little impulses.
Yeah, yeah.
For me, I have experienced in not just stopping drinking, but stopping drinking and working a spiritual program to find out why I drank.
Right, yeah.
I have experienced, as many of my friends in 12-step recovery have, the healing of my desire to drink.
Right.
So I can walk every day. I mean, I live in London. I walk everywhere, right? I walk by countless, shops that sell alcohol. I go to restaurants, bars, like we all do. And I don't think about it. But it could, what if the thought came one day, walking through Soho on a sunny day in the summer and watching people having their Aperol spritz, and the thought came, God, that'd be good. And I did it. All bets are off, There's a way to stop drinking and stay stopped. The trickier stuff is in the spiritual life is the stuff that's not the substance, So you can stop doing alcohol, you can stop eating sugar, you can stop using Class A drugs or crystal meth. You can stop, right? But it's difficult to stop judging. It's difficult to stop. For me, it's difficult.
Do you replace it with? Is it the same? Do you replace that? What do you replace judging with? I read. Oh my gosh! The other day I was in TK Maxx, right, buying random stuff. No. I found The Great Gatsby in like a posh book, and so I thought I was in the queue, so I'll start reading it because I've never actually read it. And in the first sentence, the first page, it says, when I was young, my dad said to me, before you criticize someone, try and bear in mind that they haven't had the advantages that you've had. And that, I didn't know that was from The Great Gatsby, but that is what I do. Before I criticize someone, I try and think, well, they have, but I was doing it like this. Well, I guess they haven't had the advantages that I've had. So I don't think that's how it's meant to be.
I don't think so. They haven't evolved as
I guess
much
they
as
just
I have.
Haven't struggled like I have. It's not, I don't do that now. I'm trying not to do that. But it is that thing of that, it's the moment before the action. Is Lent making space for the moment before the action?
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And for like a...
Thank you, Great
It
Gatsby.
really is great. And thank you, Jaz, because I think there's this sense of like, I'll speak for myself, because I have this, I'm an addict in recovery, but my addiction involved alcohol mostly, sometimes drugs. But, you've heard me say, you've heard me repeat what I've heard from other people, like everyone's addicted to something,
Yeah.
And that's just, that is the reality of being human, is that we're all using props to some extent. And we shouldn't, I want to say this from me as Pastor Trey, we shouldn't be like crapping on ourselves because we're using props, because we can understand why we use props, right?
Yeah.
It's hard out there. It's hard being a human being. It's difficult. So like what you're saying though is so beautiful, because when you begin contending with all the mess of your own life and all the beauty of your own life, you begin to perhaps develop a little more compassion for people who are struggling. There's a place in the Bible where Jesus's disciples are like, these things, they talk about demons, but they're talking about these addictive patterns, these things like they're so hard we can't get rid of them, And Jesus says, well, these things are really hard. Some of them only come out by prayer. Like there's this sense of like, they're so deeply enmeshed in us that there's no easy 1, 2, 3 fix. Like they only come out through surrender to prayer. And another text, sorry about Bible quoting, but there's this other text that I love where someone talks about a thorn in the side. A thorn in the side is a metaphor for a thing that is diminishing your life or is a challenge for you. And though you've worked on it and gone to therapy and prayed and talked to friends and been honest with you and your God and your friends, it just is not taken away, which might be lust or greed or whatever it is. It's just living with it. And that in itself is a grace. You learn to live with the thing that won't go away.
Oh, gosh. I don't think I could do that.
Well, you are doing it. You just don't know what it is because we all have one. What is the thing? And I'm not asking you to say now, but what is the thing? I'm asking this of our whole community here. What's the thing that and this is the thing about not shitting on yourself. What's the thing that though you've really tried, and you've had such sincerity of intention, and you've worked on it, and you've talked about it, that, even on a good day, you might think, God, I still catch myself doing or feeling or thinking X, Y, Z. It may be, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, no, it's maybe criticizing myself, or maybe, the language I use sometimes to, like, if someone else came to me with a problem, I'd be like, oh, it's okay. No, you're not stupid. Don't be silly. But when I make a mistake, oh, you're stupid. What's wrong with you? So it's maybe that. But I'm not settled. What I mean is the thing of like, it's there and I'm just going to live with it. I can't condone that. I will never stop trying not to live with it.
Yeah.
I
don't think that, I hear you. It's not a condoning. It's not saying, oh, it's this thorn in the flesh. So like, sin boldly, go. If lust is your thing, well, like go fuck whoever you want to. I mean, if you should, that's your choice, right? But like, I think it's a sense of like, I have perennially and perpetually felt this. I've tried to work on it. I'm going to keep being attentive to it, but I also acknowledge that I'm doing my best and it's still here. So what else am I going to do besides beating myself up that I haven't worked hard enough to get rid of it? That's what I mean. So it's
not giving up.
It's not giving up. It's just a humility of trying to sort of bear it.
Oh, I haven't got that. You said humility. That's why I don't have any of that.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably why we like each other, because I don't have any. I do have humility, but only in little soup soul. Yeah.
I like humility in other people. Ed, my husband, so humble.
Like it in other people.
I love it in other people because I'm like, wow, I wish I could be like that.
Well, that's funny. I like compassion in other people.
You don't think you're compassionate?
No, I love that. It could be a great t-shirt series. I really like generosity in other people. For myself, I like to be greedy and mean.
Spill the Spirituality returns next week with a former Marine who seeks out and befriends tribes people in remote places. Bruce Parry will be joining us.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
It's going to be good.
If you're listening or watching, we invite you to rate us on however you get your podcast or your video cast. Especially if you like us, let us know. Let them know. Let the world know that you like this and you're moved by it or challenged by it. We want to get the word out there to other folks who may not have it in their feeds yet. So do us a favor and give us a rating, a good rating on whatever your rating system is. And if you don't like us, well,
just go ahead and keep that to yourself. All right.
Spill the Spirituality is a project of the Methodist Church in Britain. It is produced by the wonderful John Ryan and the wonderful Rachel Matthews. Until next time, I'm Trey Hall.
And I'm Jaz and See you then. Peace.